What is the value of x? So that 8 over x plus 6 is 8. 8 over x is equal to 8 minus 6, which is 2. So 8 over 2 would be x, and therefore x is equal to 4. In the diagram, AB is parallel to CD. E and F are on AB and CD, so that FAB is 30, and AFE equals EFB equals BFD equals x. What is the value of x? Notice this symbol and this symbol, that's parallel. So by definition, this angle would be 30, the same as that. Okay, so now if you look at all of these angles, since they're about one line, they would all add up to 180. So 30 plus x plus x plus x is 180. So that means 3x would be 150, and therefore x is equal to 50 degrees. The average height of Ivan, Jackie, and Ken is 4% larger than the average height of Ivan and Jackie. If Ivan and Jackie are each 175 centimeters tall, how tall is Ken? I plus j plus k over 3. And then that would be 1.04, so that's representing the 4%. I plus j divided by 2. So this is the equation. This is the mathematical setup of the wording here. I just converted it to an equation. And then just solve for this. And the good news is they've given us that 175 is the value for I and j. And I guess that means that we will be left with just one variable. And that would easily allow you to solve for that one variable. Let me just write this properly. 175 plus 175 and divided by 2. Okay, well, I'm sure you can do this. And when you do, you will get k equal to 1.96. Actually, I don't know. I keep doing that. For some reason, I'm more comfortable with meters. But I guess it's 196 centimeters, regardless of how you write it. An positive integer n between 10 and 99 inclusive is chosen at random. If every such integer is equally likely to be chosen, what is the probability that the sum of the digits of n is a multiple of 7? Well, from 10 to 99 inclusive, how many integers is that? That's 90. So the probability would be, it's usually a fraction, and the bottom number is the total. So in this case, there's 90 numbers, and the top number is our specific condition. And our specific condition is that the sum of the digits of the number is a multiple of 7. Okay? So what number goes in here, I don't know yet, but I guess that's what we have to figure out. Now, let's say the number is it's a two-digit number, so it has two digits, a and b. So what they were basically saying is that a plus b is a multiple of 7. So it's either 7 or it's either 14. And I don't think it could be 21, right? Because even if a and b are both 9, a plus b would be 18. So the highest sum would be 18. So I think these are the only two conditions we need to be concerned with. All right, so let's take these one step at a time. Let's make a list, a and b. And let's see, how do we get a plus b equal to 7? And remember, they have to be two digits. Yeah, because they're between 10 and 99. So you can't have you can't have a equal to 0. 1 and 6, 2 and 5, 3 and 4, and so on, right? These would be sufficient to make 7 and 0. Yeah, 7 and 0 would work. So that this scenario would create these numbers. So that's 7. So 7 of these guys. Okay, now let's look at that scenario when a plus b is 14. All right, so let me think about this. So I guess we start with 5. 5, 9, 6, 8, 7, 7, 8, 6, and then 9, 5. So these are the ones, that's 5. So this 7 and this 5, that's 12. So 12 goes up here. And that's the probability, 12 over 90, and in lowest terms, of course, they always wanted in lowest terms, it would be 2 over 15. A car and a minivan drive from Alphaville to Beta Town. The car travels at a constant speed of 40 kilometers per hour, and the minivan travels at a constant speed of 50 kilometers per hour. The minivan passes a car 10 minutes before the car arrives at Beta Town, how many minutes pass between the time at which the minivan arrives in Beta Town and the time at which the car arrives in Beta Town? All right. Well, before I get started, I just really quickly wanted to mention something that happened recently. I was talking to my dad, and my dad is originally from India. And during the conversation, he kept saying beta, which if you're from India, you know that means son. So my girlfriend's listening to me, and she's not from India, right? She's from the Philippines. So after the conversation, she asks me, what does beta mean? So I told her that beta is the second letter in the Greek alphabet. And the first letter is alpha. That's what I told her. So I just wanted to mention that. It has nothing to do with the question, but anyhow. So here we go with the question. So we got Alphaville, and you've got the Beta Town. And then at some point, there's a certain distance that we need to figure out. And that distance represents the 10 minutes that is the difference between the two vehicles. And in particular, this is for C, which is the car. So it represents C as the car. And for the van, I guess I'll just call it V for the van. Now, the car and the van at one point do meet each other. And then the car will take 10 minutes, but the van, that's how many minutes we need to know. How many minutes does it take the van to reach Beta Town? And if we do that, then we can just compare them and figure out what is the difference. Which is essentially what they're asking in the very last sentence of the question. So speed is equal to distance over time, and that is the the formula we're going to use. And for the car, the speed is 40, and for the van, the speed is 50. So let's do that. Let's see here. So for the car, it's going to be speed is equal to distance over time. And the speed is 40, and the distance is d. We don't know the distance yet, but the time is 10 minutes, but we have to convert that to hours, so it'd be 1 over 6. So that means the distance is 40 over 6. Now for the van, same formula, speed is equal to distance over time, of course, and then this time the speed is 50. The distance, well, with that one we just got is 40 over 6, and the time is what we will have to figure out. When you do this math, you get time will be 2 over 15. Now that's in hours, so in minutes, that's 8 minutes. So 8 minutes is what we would put up there. That's how much time it takes for the van to go from this point to Beta Town. So 8 minutes it takes the van to get there, and then it takes 10 minutes for the car to get there. So the difference there is 2 minutes. So 2 minutes is the difference, which is what they're asking. How many minutes pass between the time at which the minivan arrives in Beta Town and the time at which the car arrives in Beta Town? So 2 minutes is the answer to that. Ruzandra wants to visit Singapore, Mongolia, Bhutan, Indonesia, and Japan. In how many ways can she order her trip to visit each country exactly once, with the conditions that she cannot visit Mongolia first and cannot visit Bhutan last? Okay. Singapore is very close to where I live in Southeast Asia. Mongolia is a country between Russia and China. Bhutan is a country between India and China. Indonesia is very close to where I live in the Philippines. And Japan is in East Asia, just in case you're wondering. So there's 5 countries. Now, the total, if there's no restrictions, it would just be a strict 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. And if you multiply these together, it'd be 120. But they have a specific condition that they do not want you to have Mongolia first and or cannot have Bhutan last. Okay. So I think the easiest way to do this is let's figure out how many ways you can have Mongolia first and can have Bhutan last, and then we'll subtract it from the total to get what they want. I think that will be easier. Okay, so Mongolia first. So if Mongolia is the first country, then we have 4 more countries, and that would just be a strict 4, 3, 2, 1. And if you multiply them, that would be 24. And then if Bhutan is last, same kind of story, it'd be a 4, 3, 2, 1 situation, and that would be 24. 4 choices for the first country, 3 choices for the second country, 2 choices for the third country and one choice for that fourth country. But here's the thing. This total, which is 48, overcounts. It overcounts. And what does it overcount? It overcounts the situation when Mongolia is first and Bhutan is last. Yeah, that's been overcounted. So that this would be 3, 2, 1. So that's 6. So this overcounts by 6. So you have to subtract from 48, that's 6, and you get 42. So 42 is how many situations you have Mongolia first and Bhutan last. So the total is 120. So you take the total and subtract from it what you don't want, and that gives you 78. And 78 answers the question where how many ways can she order her trip where she does not visit Mongolia first and does not visit Bhutan last. Lysel has a bucket. Henry drills a hole in the bottom of the bucket. Before the hole was drilled, tap A could fill the bucket in 16 minutes, tap B could fill the bucket in 12 minutes, and tap C could fill the bucket in 8 minutes. A full bucket will completely drain out through the hole in 6 minutes. Lysel starts with the empty bucket with the hole in the bottom and turns on all 3 taps at the same time. How many minutes will it take until the instant when the bucket is completely full? All right. So we have bucket A, B, C, and then we have another scenario where they're talking about draining it. So let's just see here, minutes to fill. That's the first sort of thing we need to talk about. So this was 16, this was 12, this is 8, but then to drain, it's 6. So I put a -6 there just to kind of illustrate that it's a little bit different. It's not filling, it's draining. All right, so I think it's easiest to figure this out if you convert this to in 1 minute. In 1 minute, we would fill 1/16 of A, 1/12 of B, and 1/8 of C, and 1/6 of the draining would happen. So, in 1 minute, if we add this all up, it would be 1/16, 1/12, 1/8, and then subtract the 1/6. And then when you crunch out these this fractional equation, you get 5/48. So to fill, for the bucket to be completely filled, you just invert that, just like how I did it there. So it'd be 48/5 minutes is how long it would take to fill with, I guess, this turned on, and this turned on, and that draining the bucket. In the diagram, the 2 rectangular octagons have side lengths of 1 and 2. The smaller octagon is completely contained within the larger octagon. What is the area of the region inside the larger octagon and outside the smaller octagon? Now, some of you may know the formula for an octagon's area. Now, let's say you didn't. It's not a problem. We'll do it. So what we're going to do is we're going to figure out the area of the octagon that's bigger and subtract from it the octagon that's smaller, and that would give us basically our answer. So let me show you exactly how you do it. So let's say you don't remember. Say, I don't remember the formula for the area of an octagon. If you did, you could probably do this very quickly. But let's say you don't, no problem. Let's draw an octagon and figure it out. So let's take the octagon and put it into different parts. And which one do you want to do? Let's just do well, it doesn't really matter. We can do the one with the sides one first. Okay, so label this as much as you can, and let's now concentrate on this little triangle here. That has 1, and from the symmetry of this diagram, those 2 sides are equal. So that makes me think that, well, I don't know what it is, but I'll just call it x from now. So that means that x squared plus x squared is 1 squared. So 2x squared is 1. So x squared is 1/2. And therefore x is 1/√2. Okay, so the area, we've got 4 of these triangles. So it'd be, the octagon small. We have 4 of those triangles, and each of them has a 1/2 base times height, where the base is 1/√2 and the height is 1/√2. Right? And then we have another 4 of these, whatever they're called, rectangles actually. So we have 4 times base times height, and it'll be 1 times 1 over root 2, I believe. Is that right? Yeah. And then, of course, then we have the square in the middle, and that's a 1 by 1 square. So this is, if I've done this properly, 1 plus 4 over root 2 plus 1. So that's 2 plus, if you rationalize the denominator, it would be 2 root 2. Yeah, okay. So that's a good start. So we got 2 plus 2 root 2. So we got half of the puzzle. And then the same thing, I'll let you do the next one. The one where the sides are 2. It's exactly the same. So I'm confident that you can do it. And when you do that, you will get 8 plus 8 root 2. And then when you subtract it, you will get 6 plus 6 root 2, which is the answer of the question. The parabolas with the equations y is equal to x squared minus 2x minus 3 and y is equal to minus x squared plus 4x plus c intersect at points A and B. Determine the value of c so that the sum of the x coordinate and y coordinate of the midpoint of AB is 2017. Let's draw a diagram. Let's just see what this might look like. I don't know exactly, but let's just see. So the first equation perhaps looks something like this, since it has this one right here. And the second equation, this one, since it's minus, it's going to be pointing downward. Now, I have no idea what it looks like, so I'm just going to draw it. I don't know, something like this, perhaps. Yeah. I don't know what C is, so I have no idea, but something like that. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to draw the line that they want us to draw, which would be between these two guys, and those two guys are representing A and B. So we'll call this point A, and we'll call that point B. So the coordinates of A and B, let's call them something. So A, I'll call it XA and YA, the X and Y coordinates. And for B, I'll just call them XB and YB. And then for the midpoint, I guess the midpoint would be somewhere here. Just call it M for midpoint. That would have, if you use the midpoint formula, XA plus XB divided by 2, and YA plus YB divided by 2. And that's it. For the setup. Now, they're saying that they want the sum of the x-coordinate and the y-coordinate of the midpoint of AB to 2017. So basically what they're saying is that they want XA plus XB over 2 plus that other coordinate, YA plus YB over 2 to equal 2017. So that is another condition. So let's multiply through by 2 to get rid of the fraction, and then we get XA plus XB plus YA plus YB would be, what is that, 4034? Yeah. Okay, and that's pretty much the setup so far. Now where do we go from here? Well, one thing is for sure, that these points A and B, they are the intersection points. So to get an intersection, you have to set those two equations equal to each other, right? So that would be basically how you'd get the intersection. Now let's clean this up a bit. Let's put this all on one side. 2x squared minus 6x minus 3 minus c equals 0. Let's divide through by 2, x squared minus 3x minus 3 plus c over 2. So that cleans it up a little bit. Now, I think we're going to have to use Vieta's here. You guys remember Vieta's formula? It states that if you have an equation of the form ax squared plus bx plus c, then the sum of the roots would be equivalent to minus b over a. And the product of the roots, that would be equal to, I believe, was it C over A? Okay, so looking at this equation right here, what is minus B over A? It's just 3. So 3 is the sum of the roots. And the roots are basically, what are the roots? The roots are these guys, this and this, because those two satisfy the equation. So that means XA plus XB are the roots. And then product of the roots from this equation, the C over A would be minus 3 plus C over 2. So it'd be XA times XB. Right? Yeah, I believe so. Okay. And I think that's very helpful later on. Right now it doesn't seem very helpful. Okay. And then we have to use those two equations, these two equations up here, this one and this one, to get the formulas for YA and YB. So I guess I can do it here. YA would be XA squared minus 2XA minus 3. And then YB would be XB squared minus 2XB minus 3. And this is what we want. So I guess we can sub it all in, right? We have XA. Well, not quite, but let's see what happens. So we're going to at least attempt here to make this all work. So let's take this equation and sub in this and this, and then somehow, some way, we're going to have to utilize that. Okay, so we got XA plus XB plus YA plus YB, and that's got to equal 4034. Okay, so then the XA plus XB, let me just leave that alone for now. Let me concentrate on putting in all this big long song and dance for the YA. XA squared minus 2XA minus 3. And then the YB would be XB squared minus 2XB minus 3. And that's got to equal 4034. Okay, so now we have to kind of fiddle this around. And the goal is really to utilize those two. All right, let's see here. First, let me clean this up a bit. Let me like collect like terms is what I mean. And then this and this would be minus XA, and then this and this. Where is it? Minus XB, and then we've got a minus 6. But yeah, minus 6, and then 4034. Okay. And then I think at this point we're gonna have to use a little bit what I call fancy algebra. It's not super fancy, but a little fancy. You gotta factor this. So XA plus XB all squared would produce these guys, but then you have to compensate for what it has to be done to produce that. So you'd have to put a minus 2XA XB, I believe. 2XA XB. And then there'd be a minus 3 and a minus 6. Let me think about this for a second. X squared, okay, then 2XAB. Yeah. And then yeah, I think that works. That works. Okay, then now finally we can use these guys. So XA plus XB, which is right here, is 3, so that'd be 3 squared. XA times XB is, minus 3 plus C over 2. And then minus XA plus XB, XA plus XB is 3, and then minus 6. Okay, this all works because then we just have one variable. So let me see, 3 squared minus 2 minus the half, and then 3 plus c, and then yeah, minus 3 minus 6. Okay, this will work. Okay, so let's do this here. So this would be 9, and this looks like it'll be plus 3 plus c, and this will be minus 9 is equal to 4034. So the 9's cancel, so c would equal 4031. Okay, yeah, we got it. So as you can see, we had to use Vietas up here and a little bit of fancy algebra, not too bad, to get the final answer, 4031. Determine the number of pairs of integers AB with a between 1 and 100 inclusive, so that the line with the equation b is equal to ax minus 4y passes through the point r0, where r is a real number with r between 0 and 3 inclusive, and passes through S4, where S is a real number where S is between 2 and 4 inclusive. Okay, boy. We got one. Let me just set this up here. A and then B is equal to AX minus 4Y. Okay. And we've got R0 that satisfies that equation, and R is between 0 and 3, according to what they're saying. And S4 also satisfies the equation, and 2 is between, S is between 2 and 4. So I think that pretty much summarizes the question. Not much to work with, but, and what are we asking for here? The number of pairs AB. Okay, so obviously that means there's going to be a lot. So we've got to come up with a systematic method for figuring out how many. Okay, so let's work with this. Let's just substitute R0 into there, and we do that. We get B is equal to AR minus 0, so R is going to be B over A. And therefore, since R is between 0 and 3, we can just put B over A is between 0 and 3. And then when you multiply through by A, you get 0 is less than B less than 3A. Okay, so that's the first piece of the puzzle. And very similarly, let's put S4 into the equation, so that into this equation. So that would be B is equal to AS minus 4 times 4. So that would mean B plus 16 is equal to AS, and therefore S is equal to B plus 16 over A. So S is between 2 and 4, so S is between 2 and 4. So we just put in B plus 16 over A is between 2 and 4. And multiply through by A, and you get 2A is less than 4A. Let's see if I did that properly. Yeah. So then if you just want to isolate for B, it'll be 2A minus 16. And then 4A minus 16, I believe. Yes, so then this is the second piece of the puzzle there. Okay, so that's not so bad. Okay, so we've got... okay, so we got B is between... We got two equations here. We got B is between 0 and 3A. And we have B is between 2A minus 16 and 4A minus 16. All right. So now we have to fiddle around with this now. And then A has a parameter, right? A is between 1 and 100, I believe. Is there a parameter for B other than the ones I've found? And the answer is no. Okay. All right. Okay, so let's play with this now. So 0... is less than 2A minus 16. That's one possible scenario, and that would give me that A is greater than or equal to 8. And then the other way is 3A could be less than 4A minus 16, and that would give me A is less than greater than 16. So that makes me think that there's several kind of categories here. Hopefully not too many. The first category, since A is between 1 and 100, right? So the first category is between 1 and 8. Oh, sorry, 1 and 7, I think. Yeah, it's for A. The next is when A is greater than 8, but then it's less than or equal to 15. And then we've got the final one where A is greater than 16 and its upper limit is 100. So fiddling around, I kind of broke it down into 3 categories for A, and then we'll figure out B, and then that will give me how many pairs AB, because that's what we want, right? We want the number of pairs. Yeah, the number of pairs AB. All right, okay, let's see. Okay, so let's hopefully there's not too many, but I've got enough space here to and then let's put the total here. So total. Okay, let's figure this out. So we first have to, let me put into the board or the screen some of our equations here, because I think those are important. Yeah, like these guys here. That's gonna be important because we have to have that, otherwise that we won't have much of a guideline as to what to work with here. Yeah. Okay. So let's see here, for between 1 and 7 for A, right? Well, 4A minus 16. 4A minus 16. Let's see here. If A is 1, well, B has to be greater than 0, right? So if B is greater than 0, 4A minus 16 has to be greater than 0. So, yeah, that has to be greater than 0. And that's not going to be possible if A is 1, 2, 3, or 4. Let me think about this. No, it won't be possible if it's 1, 2, or 3. Yeah, because then it would be a negative number. Okay, so what about if A is 4? If A is 4, then you would get a 0 less than B less than 0 scenario. So B is 0. So the number of values of B would be 1. If A is 5, then you'd have 0 is less than B is less than or equal to 4. Right? Because if you put 5 there, it would be 4 times 5, which is 20. 20 minus 4 is 4. And I'm really working with sort of a combination of this guy and this guy. So that would give me 5 values for B. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If A is 6, you'd have 0 less than B less than 8. So that give me 9 values. If A is 7, it would be 0 less than B less than 12. And that would give me 13 values. So if you add up these guys, that's 10, 15, 25, 28 values. And then for each 28 values of B, and then for each of those has a matching value of A, which are listed here. So that would be 28 pairs. So 28 pairs for this scenario right here. Okay, now let's do this next one. I think this should have been an A here. This should have been an A. Sorry about that. I don't know why I put 8. Okay. So, let's see. Where do I go now? I think the same kind of thing. We'd have to sort of just manually do this. I don't think there's any way of doing otherwise. Okay, so for this one, I'm going to use this 4A minus 16 is greater than 2A minus 16 from up here, these guys. And then for each A, the number of values would basically be 4A minus 16 minus 2A minus 16 plus 1. So, which is basically 2A plus 1 values of B. So for A equals 8, it would be 17. For A equals 9, it would be 19. For 10, it would be 21. For 11, it would be 23. For 12, it would be 25. For 13, it'll be 27. And for 14, it'll be 29. And for 15, it'll be 31. So when you add up these guys, it's 192. And similarly, that's 192 values of B. For each value of B, there's a corresponding value of A. So therefore, there's be 192 pairs. Okay, now we're moving on to the last one. For the last one, let's see here. Kind of the same kind of thing. We kind of just have to manually do this. Let's see what we can do. I'm trying to think which equations to use here. I'll use this one here. B less than 3A less than 2A minus 16. And for each A, we would have 3A minus 2A minus 16 plus 1 values for B. And that's A plus 17 values for B. All right, so for example, when A is 16, you'd have 33. When A is 17, you have 34. And then dot, dot, dot all the way down to when A is 100, you'd have 117. And then when you add up all these guys, you can do that. It'll be 6375. So this, again, same story. It'll be 6375. So you add this guy, and this guy, and when you do, you get a grand total of 6595 pairs of AB.